Good morning. My name is Dominique and this is Homesteading for Three. In my last video, I picked a bunch of green tomatoes from my garden since it is starting to get colder here in Wisconsin. And now what I need to do is basically put this garden to rest for the winter. I do have big plans next year for expanding my garden. I want to build two 16 by 4 raised garden beds in my yard. So basically we're going to be reducing the amount of lawn we have so that we can maximize the space and have as big of a garden as I can on the amount of yard that I have. I do live in the city, so I don't have a whole lot of land at all, but I really want to do as much as I can to get as big of a harvest as I can, because this year I learned so much. Next year I will be using grow lights and just doing things a lot differently and then planting a bigger variety than I did this year. Overall this year, for being my first garden and not using any grow lights for my starts, it did a lot better than I thought it was going to at first. So I got probably a couple handfuls of beans, green beans, and a couple of yellow beans. Those really didn't do a whole lot. One of the mistakes I made is I didn't trellis them because I thought they were bush beans, but they were actually pole beans. So that was a learning experience. My tomatoes, I got, I don't know, probably a few handfuls of red tomatoes. I got all of these green tomatoes. So basically everything happened really late and they didn't have time to ripen. So I'm hoping if I'm using grow lights next year that I will have stronger starts that are a little further along before I actually put them in the ground. Also, I didn't get any cucumbers at all. I had a few cucumber plants. They did nothing. And then I had some green pepper plants that I got maybe 1 or 2 green peppers. One big issue with my backyard is I have 2 big trees. So there is a lot of shade, and the area where my current bed is, where you'll see when we go outside, is in a very shaded area. So I didn't get enough sunlight. So I'm just happy I got anything at all, honestly. But next year, the place where I plan to put the raised beds is actually where the yard gets the most sun. So we are gonna go outside. I'm gonna rip out all the old tomato plants and the cages and store the cages away for winter. I'm gonna see, I think what I'd like to do is find some kind of manure. I don't have anything like that, but I do know some people that got manure for free from a farm. So I'm gonna try to see if I can find something for that. So for today, all I'm gonna do is rip out the tomato plants so that it's at least ready where I can lay some manure down and then cover it with some leaves just to protect the soil. So let's get started. We're gonna get this done. Hopefully it won't take too long. It's not a very big garden, but yeah, follow along and we'll have some fun. It's about 56 degrees right now, which is actually warmer than it was yesterday. It was in the 40s yesterday, at least in the morning, but we're gonna get going. Okay, it is definitely starting to look like fall. So these 2 were green pepper plants. I'm just gonna pull the cages off and pull the plants out, and that soil will be ready to plant something in next year. So here's my garden. So these bushes right here, and then also just all of the tree coverage, basically this part and then over there by the garage, have a lot of shade. So this main area all in the middle is what gets the most sun. It's kind of overcast right now, so you can't really tell, but I want to do 2 16 by 4 garden beds right here with, there'll be 3 feet in between this bed and the next bed, and then 3 feet in between those 2 beds, and then I believe 2 feet over there. So maximizing, oh, the sun's starting to peek out a little bit, maximizing the yard basically. So I'm gonna start getting all of these pulled out. As far as I know, you're not supposed to leave tomato plants or roots or anything in the soil because they can carry disease and you don't want that to go into your soil. So let's get started. Well, it's kind of bittersweet. End of my first garden. I got all the weeds out that I could, and we're just going to actually rake up some leaves and cover it. And then if I can find manure, I think I'll just put another layer of manure, or a layer of manure on top of it, and then maybe put more leaves on top of that, just so it can kind of hopefully decompose and build up the soil for next year. I think what I'm gonna do is put this pile of weeds and plants behind the shed and kind of start a compost pile back there. Then I'll get these put away as well. I need to organize that shed a little bit. Whew. Well, I'm out of shape. That really didn't take all that long, but definitely still a workout. I just did like a fairly light layer of leaves on the whole thing. Like I said, I'm gonna try to find manure. If I can't find manure, then I'm just gonna make sure to lay manure down before I plant my garden in the spring, because I actually didn't have anything like that, any compost or manure or anything on this garden, which is probably another reason it didn't do as well as it could have. I just had like gardening soil. So, needless to say, a lot of lessons were learned this year. I appreciate you watching this video. If you liked it, or if you want to see some future videos and what I do for my garden next year, as well as some freezer cooking days I'm planning on doing and some other canning recipes, make sure you follow along and give the video a thumbs up. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.